Top pitching prospect Grayson Rodriguez is headed to the Orioles right now as we speak. Let's discuss on Fantasy Baseball's Day in 5. Welcome into FBT in 5. Today is Wednesday, April 5th. I am Frank Sanford, joined by Chris Towers. He's back. Let's talk about Grayson Rodriguez, who has been amazing in the minor leagues. He's arguably the top pitching prospect in all of baseball. But then, Chris, he has this bad spring training. He gets sent out to the minors, has a bad first start in the minors, and now that they need another starter, he's the first one that they go to. I thought the timing was kind of weird. What do you think about Grayson Rodriguez? He's 72% rostered. Is he just a must-add anywhere that he's available?
Yeah, it's hard to understand how the Orioles could go from, this guy's in the rotation, which was what we believed was the case at the start of spring training, to like 14 innings later, he's not ready yet, to 4 innings where he walks 4 batters. And it's like, all right, he's ready. Let's go. So I don't really know how the Orioles feel about him. But yeah, this is arguably, the consensus top pitching prospect in baseball. This is not a Jared Schuster situation where the minor league numbers are pretty good, but the scouting reports all indicate that, he kind of has one pitch. Grayson Rodriguez potentially has 3+ pitches. He throws in the high 90s. He's got a really good breaking ball. So I think Grayson Rodriguez is absolutely the kind of guy who, should have been on the opening day roster. He was a top 200 player for me before he got sent down. Ended up dropping him after he got sent down. Now it looks like I should have just kept him in the top 200 all along, but I think he's that kind of player, the kind of guy who could give you 130 really, really good innings this year. And I'd be looking to add him anywhere he's available.
Would you add him over Kenta Maeda, who made his season debut on Tuesday, his first start since coming back from Tommy John surgery, and he looked pretty good. 5 innings, 1 run, 9 strikeouts to 0 walks. What do you think about Grayson versus Maeda?
Yeah, you've got to grade Kenta Maeda on the curve of a Marlins bill, if that's the way to put it, because he was going against the Marlins, who have been a bad offense for quite a while, and got a ton of swinging strikes. The slider looked great. The splitter looked great. But, it was against the Marlins. He left with some arm fatigue. It was kind of alarming. He left with a trainer at the end of his outing, and it was like, is he hurt? It turns out it was just fatigue. So hopefully he's fine moving forward. I think Maeda is worth adding. I think he's in that, discussion with, Justin Steele and some of the other guys we've been adding. But I think Grayson Rodriguez has more upside. So I would be trying to add Grayson Rodriguez over Kenta Maeda.
Let's talk about a few hitters. Garrett Mitchell went 2 for 4 with a double dong, one of those home runs. 112.3 exit velocity off of a lefty. You love to see it. 54% rostered is Garrett Mitchell, so could be out there in some shallower leagues. Chris, are you taking Mitchell over names like James Outman and Oscar Colas?
I think I would rather have Colas than Mitchell. I think I would go Colas, Mitchell, and Outman. I think all 3 of them are really interesting. Colas just seems to have the power as a bigger carrying tool, although Garrett Mitchell has always had raw power, and maybe he's starting to tap into it a little bit here in the majors, and obviously has a ton of speed, but I would rather have Colas.
I think it might come down to what you need to. If you need batting average
sure.
and power, then maybe Colas for you, and if you need a little power and speed, then maybe it's Garrett Mitchell. As much as I like James Outman, I do think he's last of that group as well. Spencer Torkelson had a big game. He went 3 for 4 with a home run and 3 RBI. The home run, 425 feet. He only has 3 strikeouts in 20 plate appearances so far this season. First base is kind of a weird position, so I'm going to compare Torkelson to some other corner infielders. Would you take him over guys like Moncada, Elihuros Montero, and Spencer Steer?
Yeah, I think that's the right range for him. And I would think going into the season, I probably had him ranked ahead of Moncada and Steer. So I guess I would probably have to keep it that way. I think we've seen positive signs from Moncada and Steer along with Torkelson so far. Torkelson hadn't really produced much before this game, but also not striking out, which is a good sign. And, kind of had a coming out party, 3 batted balls over 102 miles per hour. On Tuesday was really nice to see from Torkelson. So I think I would go Torkelson at the top of that list, followed by Steer and Moncada with Montero last. But I kind of like all of them.
All right, let's wrap up with Jorge Mateo, who had 2 hits, including his second home run of the season. Also has 4 stolen bases already. This dude is playing like someone who does not want to lose his job. Obviously, there's lots of young, fun prospects coming for the Baltimore Orioles, but so far, Jorge Mateo looks great. He's 48% rostered. Chris, would you take him over names like Bryce Terang and Ezekiel Tovar?
I would not drop Terang or Tovar for Mateo. I think, look, it's possible that Mateo has some latent potential that he's locking into. This is a guy who's a former top 100 prospect, but we've seen him about 800 plate appearances in the majors. We've seen 250 something games in AAA where he's like a low 700s OPS bat. If he was a low 700s OPS bat in the majors, he'd be a pretty good fantasy player because he's probably going to steal 40 plus bases. I think even getting to that bar is probably pretty unlikely. So I think Terang and Tovar, they're maybe less certain, certainly in the stolen base category, especially where we know Mateo's a standout, but that's all he is. I think Terang and Tovar could be more than that. So I'll give them the edge over Mateo.
All right. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to the Fantasy Baseball Today podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the Audacy app, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today in 5, and we'll be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.